The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
The Chris Salcedo Show. Conservative talk radio with spice.
But if you can help one child who has cancer, why wouldn't you do it?
Listen.
Is that Head Start Mama?
Why pit one against the other?
Why would we want to do that?
Why would you want to do that, Harry Reid? I don't know. Helping a kid with cancer. I mean, you Democrats, the party of compassion and blah, 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 blah. Why would you want to help a kid with cancer, for crying out loud? Oh, these people are priceless. But what ticks me off is they're getting away with it. Before the break, we were outlining this program in Dallas ISD, again, through the Department of Agriculture. You've got local governments just ceding power to the federal government for the goodies. It's so hard to walk away from that. I mean, regardless of your income, your kid now in Dallas ISD can get their breakfast and their lunch for free. It's not free. We all know somebody pays for it, right? But President Obama will just borrow it once the debt ceiling is elevated. And everybody wonders why. Why do you make such a big deal about the debt ceiling? That's why. Because they're just borrowing money and doing stupid crap like this. Millionaires and billionaires have their kids' breakfast and lunch paid for by the federal government. Does that make sense to you? We've seen it in the food stamp program. We've seen it across the board in government. Lax regulations designed, I can only surmise, designed to bankrupt the country. Designed to say, look, capitalism doesn't work. That's not capitalism. That's not even the ballpark of capitalism. One guy who's probably going to agree with me, and I do want him to weigh in on this story and other things, is my next guest. His name's Wayne Allen Root. You know the name. Capitalist evangelist, he is known, one of the most dynamic, charismatic, and fiery national media powerhouses out there in our nation's day. Wayne's a former presidential candidate, 2008 Libertarian vice presidential nominee, and a gifted writer as well. His latest book is called The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide. It became #1 national bestseller, as you would expect. He's got a new book coming out called The Murder of the Middle Class, which we'll talk to him about in greater detail during the interview. Wayne, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on The Blaze.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Fantastic, man. And you have an article that's up on The Blaze, too, that we're going to get to in due course, but I had to let you weigh in. We all have detailed and just sat there with our mouth hanging wide open at what's going on in the food stamp program. Now you've got in conservative Texas, the Dallas ISD saying, you know what? We're just going to let any child, regardless of their family's income level, have free breakfast and free lunch. Are you kidding me?
Well, this is the idea. This is the whole philosophy of Barack Obama in a nutshell. I mean, remember, I wrote The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide, but lots of people write books. Very few of them know Obama like I know Obama. I can predict what he's going to do months before he does it. I'm like, I'm like an idiot savant. I'm like the horse whisperer, except I'm the Obama whisperer. And the reason I know him so well, and I understand what he's up to, and I know his game plan intricately, is because I'm his college classmate, Columbia University, class of '83. And I'm very upfront saying from the beginning in every interview, never met him, never saw him, never heard of him, don't know anyone at Columbia who ever met him, saw him, or heard of him. But that doesn't mean he didn't go there. He was the ghost of Columbia. It's a strange story. No one could quite understand it. I do. You can get into an Ivy League school, Chris, and once you're into Harvard or Columbia, you can never go to class, you can never study. The next 4 years, you could party for 4 years, and you still graduate with a gentleman's C. They believe once you're in, you're the most elite, brightest, exclusive bunch in the world, and no one checks if you come to class. And you're guaranteed you're going to graduate, even if you get straight D's or gentleman's C's. So my point in all this, to answer your question, is what was Obama's deal at Columbia, and how does it tie into the food stamp program and free meals at school? You know, Obama wasn't in class because I believe he was out with his friends who were all communists and socialists plotting the downfall of capitalism. And when we were at Columbia, here's what everybody talked about day and night. Cloward Piven. Mm-hmm. Professor Richard Cloward and Frances Piven, husband-wife professor team, who believed the only way to destroy America was from within. You had to elect someone who's handsome, who's personable, who doesn't seem like a communist, who acts nice, who claims he's a moderate, but who is a communist. And once in office, you overwhelm the system with entitlements, spending, food stamps, welfare, you name it, and of course debt, because it all leads to debt. And that's what Obama's trying to do, whether it's getting rid of caps so that everybody can eat free at school, whether it's giving food stamps to illegal immigrants, which happens every second of every day, whether it's hiring recruiters. That's the term they use. The U.S. government hires recruiters and gives them bonuses for getting more and more people on food stamps, and then gives them literature, Chris, that sounds like the Soviet Republic. It sounds like communist propaganda. The literature handed out in America today says it's patriotic to accept food stamps.
Good grief.
How about the fact that the U.S. government uses your taxpayer money to advertise in Mexico to tell Mexican citizens that your relatives in America can get food stamps even though they're illegal? Be sure and tell them that. Folks, America is gone if this continues for another 3 years, completely obliterated. And that was the plan at Columbia, don't you see? That's what's happening in front of us.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.